Okay, so let's look at all these rules to do with the snap, the grid, and penciling in and manipulating and moving notes around and all that kind of business. Okay. So the local menu bar of Piano Roll Edit has got a snap menu here. It's almost identical to the snap menu in Arrange, except we don't get quarter frames and samples. Okay. The lowest resolution in Piano Roll Edit local menu bar snap is frames. But we're only going to use frames if we're working to video, so I'm just going to blank this from now on, right? And I'm going to refer to ticks from now on as the finest resolution, okay? Now ticks is a fine resolution. If you look up here in this parameter box for the region, it says here quantize off 3840, yeah? It also says it here in the local menu bar, quantize, yeah? Off 3840. Well, that means that when you're in ticks, which is the finest resolution that Logic has for MIDI resolution, yeah, you've got 3,840 actual little increments per bar, and that's perfectly adequate for editing MIDI data, you know. So I'm going to refer to ticks from now on as the finest resolution, and I'll just blank frames completely. And the other thing to remember is that when you've got ticks selected as the snap, there are no snap rules, right? You know, with ticks selected, you can move a note around, it doesn't snap to anything. You can move the front of a note in and out, and it doesn't snap to anything. And you can move the back of a note in and out. No snap at all once you've gone into ticks, right? Everything's free flowing. Sure, we're in ticks, which means there's no snap. So let's start by inputting a note. We get the pencil tool, and I position the pencil tool right here between two division lines. There's no snap. No snap should be working because we're in ticks, right? So I click with the pencil tool right here, but the note still snaps to the division line. So the first thing is, when you pencil in a note, it always snaps with its starting edge to the nearest left-hand grid line. Okay. Whether or not snap is in ticks, okay. It will penciling in notes, they always snap to the nearest grid line. Okay, so the second thing is, why is the note that I put in this length? I didn't define that anywhere before I click to input a note, right? Well, there are two ways to define the default note length before you pencil in. Okay, the first way is this: you adjust the length of a note. That's the last note that I edited, and now every note I pencil in from now on is that length until I make the next note edit, and then every note from then on is that length. Right, so that's one way to define your default note length, and the other way is got three different size notes here. You just you know, as I explained earlier at the beginning of this chapter, I'm using the right mouse click to bring up the toolbox, which means that to get my larger shortcut menu for a note event, I have to hold down Control and left click on the note, and then I get this larger shortcut menu, and at the top it says define as default note, which is actually define as default note length. Yeah, so you choose the smaller note, hold down Control, left click on it, choose define as default note, and now every note I pencil in is that length. Or you hold down Control, left click on the larger note, define it as the default note length, and now that is the default note length. Okay, so actually two ways of selecting the default note length, and when we pencil in notes, they always snap to the grid, even if snap is in ticks, in which case all snapping should be ignored. So let's look at the rules now for working with the snap. Remember, snap only works if we're not in ticks. If you're in ticks, there are no snap rules. Okay, so let's look at moving around a note first, a single note. I'll put the snap into division. Snap to absolute value is off, which means we're snapping not to the absolute value, but we're snapping by the value of division. So to move a note around, we grab it and we move it around, and it snaps by the snap value of division. It moves by a division distance each time. So it moves from being just behind this division line to being just behind this division line. Right? It just moves around by the snap value. When we move notes around, the snap pertains to the front leading edge of the note. Okay. Okay, still in division with snap to absolute value off, dragging a note in and out in length, the same thing, you grab the back and it snaps in and out, moving by a distance of the snap value, which is currently division, always retaining its end position relative to the grid. Right? Now if we put snap to absolute value on it, now it's going to snap to the value of the snap, which is division, so it's going to snap 2 divisions now. Moving the note around with snap to absolute value on. When you move a note around, the snap pertains to the front edge, and now with snap to absolute value on, when I move the note around, it snaps to the absolute value. So it starts snapping to every division for its front edge. Okay. Just reset that to its original position, and dragging the back in and out with snap to absolute value on, it's the same thing. The back end of the note starts snapping to the snap value line, which in this case is division, so it starts snapping its back edge to the division lines, because when you drag a note in and out, the snap pertains to the back edge of the note. Okay, so that's moving a note around, dragging in and out with the snap rules, whether with snap to absolute value off and on. Now what about moving the front of a note in and out, keeping the back the same but just adjusting the front? Well, we know that when we pencil in the note it always snaps to the grid, and that's the thing about dragging the front of notes in and out, they always snap to the grid. If you've got anything in the snap apart from ticks, it doesn't matter if snap to absolute value is on or off, but it's off. We're in a snap of division. And when I drag the front out, it snaps to the division lines. It always snaps to absolute value. Put it into beat, it now snaps to beat. It always snaps to absolute value. Right? Even if snap to absolute value is off. So the only way you can adjust the front of a note in and out to reposition its start position without affecting the back, the end position, yeah, is to be in ticks. And that's the only way you can adjust the front of a note without it snapping to the grid. Then it's free to be dragged in and out as you like. Okay, that's a single note with the snap rules, and now we know about the snap rules. I'm going to show you this other thing, which you should know this, but I put it in division. Snap to absolute value is off. When you go to pencil in a note, yes, you know, it pencils in, snapping to the nearest grid line, and it inputs at the default note length, but I'll just undo that. But the thing is, you don't have to do it like this. You don't have to pencil in a note and then grab the back end and drag it in and out to change its length. Right? This other technique is that you pencil in the note and keep holding down with the pencil tool, and then you can drag the note in and out in length as you pencil it in. And as you drag the back end in and out, it follows the snap rules. At the moment we're in snap of division with snap to absolute value off, so as I'll do that again, you pencil in, keep holding down and drag out, and the note drags in and out, snapping by a distance of the snap value. Okay. Put snap to absolute value on, click to input the note, and as you drag it out it starts snapping to the absolute value for its back end. But the point is, it's just this technique, you pencil in and drag out at the point you pencil in. You don't let go with the mouse, just drag. And then it drags the note in and out at the point you pencil it in, following the snap rules. If you're in ticks, then it's free flowing. You pencil in, just keep holding down, drag out, and then it drags out freely, not snapping to anything. All right. Okay, so that's everything to do with a single note. I'll put the snap back into division and the snap to absolute value off. So now let's look at multiple notes. I'll just put in some, actually I'll put this to ticks for a minute. Just put in a bunch of notes here. Okay. One more note here. Okay, this shall put this one here. There's 3 notes. None of them begin or end on a grid line. and they're all different lengths. So this one begins just after a grid line and ends just after a grid line. This one begins in the middle between two grid lines and ends between two grid lines in the middle, and this one starts just in front of a grid line and ends just in front of a grid line. Okay, so there's a bunch of notes, and we bring the ones we want into our selection by lassoing them, or by holding down Shift and left clicking on notes to bring them into our selection or out of our selection. Right, so there's 3 notes selected. Let's look at the rules now with a group of notes. So we're in division, snap to absolute value is off. To move a group of notes around, we grab any in the group, and it's the same as moving a single note. With snap to absolute value off, we grab on any in the group to grab the group and just move them around, and they start snapping their front edges by the value of the snap, which is division. So they move by a distance of a division each time, always keeping their start positions relative to the grid. Okay. Dragging them in and out in length, it's the same thing. We can grab any in the group and we drag them in and out, and their back ends start snapping in and out by the snap value distance, always retaining their end positions relative to the grid. Okay. But as soon as we put snap to absolute value on, the rules change. Okay, and think about it. We're going to move a group of notes around. When we do that, the snap pertains to the front edge of the notes, and with snap to absolute value on, we're going to be snapping to the grid lines. We can't have all of these snapping to the grid lines, otherwise they'd lose their relative start positions to each other. So when you have snap to absolute value on and you're moving a group of notes around, you've got to grab one of them to grab the group, and the one that you grab becomes the snap master of the group. So I grab the middle one, and now as I snap them in and out, or sorry, backwards and forwards in time, the middle one, which is the snap master because that's the one I grabbed on, it, and only it, starts snapping its front edge to the grid lines. The other two simply adjust to keep their relative start positions. Okay. I'll do that again. I'll grab the bottom one this time, and I grab it as the snap master of the group, and only it starts snapping its front edge to the grid lines. Right, only this one that I grabbed as the snap master. The other two just adjust to keep their relative start positions. Okay. So you know, when snap to absolute value is on and you're moving around a group of notes, you must grab one of them as the snap master, and that is the one whose front edge will snap to the grid, and the others will follow. And it's the same for dragging them in and out. You have to choose a snap master when we're snapping to absolute value. So I'll choose the top one, drag in and out, and it starts snapping to the grid lines, and only it, and the other two follow it around, because the top one I grabbed on is the snap master. Okay, I'll do that one more time. I'll grab the bottom one, drag it out, and it starts snapping to the grid lines as the snap master of the group, and the others simply adjust to keep their relative end times and follow it around. Okay. Alright then. Now, what about adjusting the front of a group of notes? We saw what it was like with a single note. It always snaps to the grid because it always snaps to absolute value. And it's the same with a group of notes. Even if snap to absolute value is off, of course they're going to, when we drag the front of notes in and out, they always snap to the grid. So even if snap to absolute value is off, when we're dragging a group out by the front, whilst keeping their end positions the same, we have to choose a snap master whether snap to absolute value is on or off, because they're always going to snap to the grid. So I grab the middle one, it snaps to the grid, the others adjust to follow it. Yeah, simple. Grab the bottom one, it snaps to the grid, it's the snap master, and the others just follow it, keeping their relative start positions. Okay, so like it's the same as with a single note with a group. If you want to adjust their fronts all together but not have one of them snapping to the grid as the snap master, you've got to be in ticks. Then there are no snap rules, and you can just drag them in and out and adjust their start position as a group, and they retain their relative start positions perfectly. Okay. Alright, so that's your rules for inputting single notes and manipulating single notes and groups of notes. Okay. Let's look at some other stuff now. Let's look at copying. And when you copy, there are a couple of basic ways to do it. We are going to look at other copy and paste techniques in this chapter, but basic simple copying. Now you should know this. Do it with a single note first. Yeah. You hold down Alt and drag away a copy of the note with the left mouse, and then let go with the left mouse while you're still holding down Alt, and then you have dropped off a copy. Then you can release Alt. Yeah. Hold down Alt, drag away the copy with the left mouse, let go with the left mouse, let go of Alt. There's your copy. Okay, so the rules, the snap rules, when you're dragging off copies with this Alt drag technique, it's the same as moving around notes. It follows exactly the same rules I just explained. With snap to absolute value off, you hold down Alt and drag away the copy, and the copy starts snapping by the snap value, which in this case is division, always keeping its start position relative to the grid, and you let go where you want it. Put snap to absolute value on, and when we drag the copy off, its front edge starts snapping to the absolute value, in this case of division. So it snaps to the grid lines. Yeah, same as moving the note around, but we're just moving around a copy. And with the group, same thing. Same rules are applied. Grab the whole lot with snap to absolute value off. We can grab on any in the group. Don't need to choose a snap master. Hold down Alt, grab one of them, and we drag away the copy, and the copy behaves just like moving the original group. You're just dragging around the copy now, and they move around, snapping by a distance of the snap value, which is division, always keeping their start positions relative to the grid. Okay. But if you put snap to absolute value on, just like when you move around the group, you have to choose a snap master. So you hold down Alt, and I'll choose the top one as the snap master. Hold down Alt, drag, grab. I'm going to grab the top one as the snap master of the group to drag away the copy. So hold down Alt, grab the top one, drag away the copy, and the top one I'm grabbing on becomes the snap master, and only it snaps to the grid. And the others just keep their relative start positions. Yeah. I'll do it with the middle one this time. Hold down Alt, drag off the copy, and now the middle one starts snapping its front edge to the grid because it is the snap master, and the others simply retain their relative start positions. Yeah. So let's drag it off copies with the Alt technique. The other way to do it is with a single note. You just do the standard Command C and Command V. You highlight a note, Command C to copy, position the playhead any way you like there, and Command V to paste in, and it pastes in the note on the same pitch, beginning exactly where the playhead was. Yeah, there's the playhead there, and the note will begin exactly there when I Command V and paste it in. Yeah. And it's the same with the group of notes. Highlight the lot, Command C, put the playhead wherever you like, Command V, paste in, and it pastes them in with the earliest note beginning where the playhead was. Yeah. Just do that one more time. Command C to copy. Put the playhead there, so the earliest note in this group will begin at the position of the playhead. Command V, paste in. Here we go. Bosh. And the earliest note begins on the playhead. They're on the same pitch, just pasted in. As I say, we're going to look at other copying and paste techniques later on. I mean, for example, in the edit menu, you've got this paste at original position and paste replace. Yeah. Okay. So that's copying. And again, all these rules, if you're in ticks, there is no snap, regardless of whether snap to absolute value is on. Right, with tick selected, there is no snap. With a single note, you hold down Alt, drag off a copy, and it's free to be dragged around. Let go, and there it is. With a group, doesn't matter which one you drag on. Hold down Alt, drag off a copy, and it's free to be dragged around. Right. Okay. So I'll put it back into division and snap to absolute value off. So let's look at some other things. What about this? Tidying up a ragged front. Let's say you've got actually I'll put it into ticks. You've got this group of notes here, maybe it's a chord or something, but the front, the start times are a bit ragged, and you want to line up the fronts but keep the back, the end positions the same. Okay, now we know that they always will snap to the grid. They always snap to absolute value when we drag the front in and out. So the only way, really practical way, or the simplest way to line up a group of notes so they have exactly the same start positions, but leave the end positions as they are, and then have the start positions all lined up exactly the same, but beginning as a group any way you like, is to do it like this. You put it into a snap-like division. Doesn't matter if snap to absolute value is on, because when we drag the fronts out, they always snap to the grid, right? And then we drag each note individually, one by one, and snap each note to the grid. Well, now we know they're all exactly starting at the same position. Now we go into ticks, grab the lot, and now we can adjust their start positions to begin where we want. Now they're where we want, but they all line up exactly at the same start position. Okay. Now, if you want to do the same but with a ragged rear, so to speak, for na, you might want to line all these up to end exactly the same. Well, there's a technique for that, and that is we simply use the shift key. Okay, we highlight the group and we hold down shift and we drag. I'll leave it in ticks for this, where there's no snap. Okay, so we hold down shift and we grab on any note in the group, like the middle one here, and we just move it, and the others, because we're holding down shift, as soon as we move that note, the other two become the same length, and then we're dragging the whole group in and out. So that's the technique. Hold down shift, grab any note, and the others become the same length when you move it, and then you drag the whole group in and out. Okay, now the snap rules work this way with the shift make them all the same length at the end technique. Okay, in division, snap to absolute value is off. We do not, the rules are now back to front. Okay, now we must choose a snap master of the group when snap to absolute value is off. Okay, so we hold down shift and I grab the bottom one as the snap master of the group. As soon as I move it, it starts snapping by the snap value distance, always keeping its end position relative to the grid, and the other two just match its length. I'll do that again. Hold down shift, I grab the top note as the snap master of the group. Holding down shift, I then drag out the group, and the top note that I grabbed on is the snap master, and it starts snapping in and out by the distance of the snap, in this case division, always retaining its end position relative to the grid, and the other two simply match its length because we held down shift before we dragged. Okay, and as I say, it works back to front. So if you put snap to absolute value on, then you don't need to choose a snap master, because think about it, they're all going to snap to the grid and they'll all become the same length, so it doesn't matter which one. Hold down shift, grab any, they all snap to the grid, they all become the same length. So that's the make them all the same length at the end technique. Okay. Okay, let's look at some other stuff now. I told you that I'd explain smart, so let's have a look at that now, because that'll introduce some other techniques. Okay, so smart. So what is this smart snap? Okay, well, we can show you this with just one note. It works the same with multiple notes, right? Okay, the idea of smart is it tries to be smart. It tries to do everything. You know, you're moving a note around and it's in ticks, but you bring it close to a grid line and it's slightly sticky. So it's slightly sticky, so it sticks to the grid lines, but you have to be quite careful with the mouse. But otherwise it's free. You know, that's the idea. And then the same with dragging it in and out. It's in ticks, it's free, but the idea is you bring it near to a grid line and it's supposed to snap to the grid line, but it's not always successful. Sometimes it snaps just like that, missing the grid line, being a little bit over. So it's not always that successful for snapping the rear end for some reason. But the idea is anyway, it's supposed to try and snap to the grid lines but be free in ticks otherwise, yeah? Same with the front, you know, it's free in ticks but it will stick to the grid lines, but it's not that sticky. And that's why I don't like it, because it's not that sticky. I like the fact that it's free to be moved in ticks, but you just have to be that much more precise when you bring the front edge to snap to a grid. You have to be very careful to bring it slowly and precisely to that grid line to stick it to it. Okay, and even though it does that, and as I say, you don't always get the back end snapping correctly to the grid. Look, that is snapped to the grid. That's snapped to the grid, but you can see it's not snapped to the grid. It's over a little bit. There seems to be some bug in Logic that it sometimes snaps to the end of the grid, and it isn't snapping the end of the note to the grid at all. Look. Okay, now it is. But I don't know, when I was in that zoom it didn't do it. but now I zoom in, it will. So I don't like it. It's not precise enough for me. Okay. And you can't do snapping by values with Smart. You know, I can't move this note from, say, this position exactly back 2 divisions, but retain its exact same end position. You can't do that. You've still got to change the snap to something like division, and then you know you can snap it back by 2 divisions and keep its relative start position to the grid exactly the same. Anyway, look, the main thing about Smart is it tries to do everything, and then I say to people, well, I don't like it. I don't like it. I have to be too fiddly with the mouse. I like to be quick when I work, and I don't want to be going, oh, stick to the grid, you know, move it around, oh, stick to the grid. You know, I want this kind of snap. You know, if I want to snap to the grid, I want snap to absolute value on, and you know, it snaps really sticky to the grid. I don't have to be precise with the mouse. So you tell people that, and they say to you, yeah, but the advantage of Smart is you don't have to keep going up here and changing your snap all the time. If you work in normal snap, where you choose normally beat or division in this editor, right, you have to keep changing between beat, division and ticks. You have to keep going up here to change the snap. Well, you don't. There's some key overrides, right, so I'll show you that now. Okay, we'll put the snap into beat, and snap to absolute value is off, right, so I grab the note, move it around, and it's snapping by a beat. We've been into this already, right? It snaps by a beat distance. But all I do is, while I've got hold of the note, I reach out and press and hold down the control key, and now I'm in division. Now I've changed the snap to division just by holding down control while I had hold of the note. Now I bring in the shift key as well, so I'm holding down control and shift. I'm now in ticks. Let go of shift, I'm now only holding down control, and now I'm in division again. Let go of the control key, and I'm now back to beat. Fantastic. And it works the same, dragging the backs in and out. Grab hold of the back, I'm dragging it in and out, and it's dragging in and out by a beat distance. But while I have hold of the note, I simply hold down control, and now I'm in division. Then I reach out and bring in shift, so I'm holding down shift and control. I'm in ticks. Let go of shift, and I'm holding down control only now, and I'm back in division. Let go of division, I'm back to beat. It's that simple. You can override the snap any time with control and shift. Okay, there is one slight caveat to this, which is that earlier, at the beginning of this chapter, I told you the best way to work is to assign your toolbox to the right mouse click, which is true. It is better to work like that. But that means that we have to now hold down control and left click on a note to bring up the larger shortcut menu. Now we're rarely going to do this, right? But you know, we don't use the shortcut menu that often, so it's better to have the toolbox on the right click. Okay, but it does mean that if we are wanting to change the snap with the control key to go from beat to division, we have to grab the note first, then hold down control to change to division snap. Okay, because if we hold down control first and then grab the note, it brings up, you know, as soon as we click on the note to grab it with control held down, it brings up the large shortcut menu. So, you know, the only thing is you've got to hold the note first, then hold down control to change the snap from beat to division. But the good news is you can hold down control and shift and immediately go to ticks before you grab the note. Okay, so there's the note, I hold down control and shift, we're in a snap of beat, but I hold down control and shift and then grab the note, and I'm in ticks straight away. Whether I'm moving it, moving the front in and out, or moving the back in and out. Because if you hold down control and shift and then click on a note, it doesn't bring up any menu. So you can immediately go from any snap, bar, beat or division into ticks by simply holding down control and shift, and now you're in ticks. Hold down control and shift, now I'm in ticks. Okay. So yeah, that's quite good. Now there is one other thing. If you're in beat, right, you grab the note and then hold down control and you're in, it changes to division. But if you're already in division, you grab the note and you're in division, but you then, while you've got the note held with the mouse, you hold down control and it changes to this interim snap where you get like 6 little snaps per division. Okay, look, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In fact, if I just line the note up with, I'm doing the shift and control override now, so I'm in ticks, right? Okay, I'll just show that again. So you grab the note, we're in division. But while I've got hold of the note, hold down Control. Now if you're in division already, it changes to this interim snap. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little snaps per division, right? Then bring in Shift as well as Control and you're into ticks. Let go of Shift so you're only holding down Control and you're in the 6 little interim snap per division. Let go of Control and you're into division, right? Alrighty, it's the same dragging them in and out. It's the same with the group. So there you go, there's your snap override tricks, okay? Okay, I'll show you another function of logic that you might want to use in piano roll, right? Okay, now it is, you're in a snap of ticks or something, you go to grab a note to change its pitch, and as soon as you move it off its pitch it starts slithering around in time, and you have to be so careful to make sure the start position stays the same when you change the pitch, yeah? Waste of time, wastes time, yeah? Or you got to drag it across in time and it strays off its pitch, and you've got to be careful to make sure it's on its correct pitch before you let go, etc., right? You might be in a snap of division or something with snapped absolute value on. Even worse, you go to change the pitch, and as soon as you drag it off its pitch, oops, there you go, it's snapping to the grid. Nothing you can do now except let go and Command Z undo, and then go and change your snap to either ticks or take snapped absolute value off, and then at least then if it jumps off its original start position you can snap it back again, but it doesn't solve the problem with it straying from its pitch when you drag it backwards and forwards in time. Okay, so let's look at I'll put it back in ticks. Let's look at something that Logic has that can change all that. Okay, so we go to Logic Pro Preferences, General, and here we have Editing, the Editing tab in Preferences, right? General. Limit dragging to one direction in, and you can tick piano roll and score. You can also tick arrange. You can limit the dragging in arrange, but let's leave all that, yeah. So you can limit the dragging to one direction in piano roll and score. Tick that. And now look what happens. I drag the note array from its original start position, and as soon as I do, it's locked in pitch. So you can move notes around in time and they're locked in pitch. Fantastic. No need to be precise with the mouse anymore. Position it where you want, let go. Bish bash bosh. Drag it away from its original pitch, and as soon as you do, it's locked in time. So you can no longer lose the start position. You don't have to be fiddly with the mouse. Just move it, change its pitch, let go, and it's exactly the same start time. Okay, now you might want to work like that. It's fantastic. Now you might be thinking, oh, but that's all very well. If I switch on that limit dragging, okay, let's say I move a note away from its original pitch. Yeah, fantastic, it's locked in time. But let's say then I think, oh, actually I want to change the time. It's stuck. You've got to then let go to, you've changed its pitch, and then move it in time. No, it doesn't work like that. There are overrides, right? So don't worry about that. Look, we grab the note and we drag it away from its original start position. It's now locked in pitch. We can't change its pitch, but look, I can unlock it. Just tap the Shift key. Now it's unlocked. Now it's free to be moved around, and if the snap is on, it will follow the snap rules. Okay, so I bring it back somewhere near its original start position. It doesn't have to be the same pitch, but just bring it back near to its original start position. Tap Shift and relock it. Now it's locked in time. Tap Shift to unlock it. Now it's free again. Bring it away from the original note position. Tap Shift and it relocks to pitch. Tap Shift to unlock it. Bring it back near to the original start position. Tap Shift to relock and it relocks to time. Okay, and the original note position is like an axis point where you can move from horizontal movement, fixed in pitch, bring it over to the axis point, the original note position, and you can switch between horizontal and vertical movement. Okay, but you can unlock it any time with Shift. Just tap Shift and it's unlocked. Tap Shift, it relocks to pitch. Tap Shift, it unlocks. Bring it near to the original start position. Tap Shift, it relocks to time. Okay. Now that relocking is a proximity effect, so you need to experiment with that. Look, it's now locked in time. Tap Shift to unlock it. Now it's like a proximity effect, so You need to experiment, yeah. When you relock it, if you bring it near enough to the original note, like say there, and then tap shift to relock it, it relocks to time. I'll unlock it again. But you get it far enough away, just a bit further away from the original note position. Tap shift and it relock. Oh no, not quite far enough away. Say there, tap shift. No, not quite far enough. Tap shift, now it relocks to pitch. See what I mean? So it's a proximity effect when you relock, whether it relocks to pitch or relocks to time. It's up to you, just experiment and find that out. But you know, so it's quite a good technique, that, because it's restricted in, you know, you drag away the note and it's restricted in pitch. You don't have to be so fiddly with the mouse when you're moving it in time. But you can unlock it any time. Or you can change its pitch, but its start position is locked in time, which is fantastic. But you can unlock it any time with shift. Relock, yeah. So it's a very useful technique, that, or function, and it allows us to do some quite useful things, right? Like, for example, I've got a note here, and this note might be critical to the rhythm of my groove, but it's just a single note, and I think, oh well, the timing of that note is absolutely perfect for this groove, but if only it was a chord. Well, we've got limit dragging on, so we hold down Alt, so I'll put the note there actually. We hold down Alt and we drag off a copy, and as we drag that copy off, it's restricted in time, so it's got the exact same start position as the note that we dragged this copy off from. Let go, and there is a second note on exactly the same start position. Now I use Alt and drag off a third copy, and its start position is again fixed to be exactly the same as the other two. Let go, and now I've got a chord. And the chord has its start notes, all the notes start exactly in the same position, because the limit dragging allowed us to keep the same start position as we dragged off copies. Okay, now I've got C. But maybe a bit high in pitch, so we drag it down, and the wonder of limit dragging helps us here. It stops the thing sliding in time. We just change the pitch of the whole chord like that. Okay, so you see that? It's a great technique, that. And the other thing you can do is, if you've got chords already, you can hold down Alt, and with the limit dragging, when you drag off additional notes like this, they're fixed in time, so they're going to have the same start positions as the chord. But you can drag off additional copies, which you can use to augment your chords. So I've got C major 7. Yeah, flattened a 7th. I've got C7. Flattened a 7th, and I've got C6. Yeah, so that limit dragging helps you to build chords from single notes, or drag off copies of notes to augment your chords with additional notes. Yeah, it's a really good idea, that. And that allows you to do techniques like, for example, you know, you might be terrible at playing in chords. You're not a very good keyboard player. I'm a useless keyboard player. I'm a guitarist, really, and I play some drums, but I'm only ever good. I can play chords if I practice regularly, but I hardly ever do it. So, for example, but you might be very good at tapping out rhythms, but you're just crap at playing chords. You know, you know, if you try to concentrate on doing a chord progression, you're gonna be so much concentrating on that you won't be able to play the rhythm in properly. You want the chords to play a rhythm. So one technique you can use with this limit dragging is, you know, you can get your keyboard and put it into record logic and just go da 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 and tap out a rhythm. Okay, so you know, you might be good at tapping out rhythms. So you know you've tapped out this kind of dance hall-y rhythm, or whatever the rhythm is. You're quite good at making rhythms, and there's your rhythm. And now you can turn it into chords. Yeah, you just grab the note, hold down Alt, drag off a copy like that. There's your one note in your chord there like that, and then hold down Alt, drag off another copy, and there you've got a chord. C. Yeah, and you could do it with the others. You know, hold down Alt, drag off a copy, and every time you drag off a note, it's restricted to the same time position, so you won't lose the start time, and all these will be perfect beginning chords. Yeah. You know, and then you just build the chord and change the intervals to make your chord progression to whatever you like, yeah. So it allows you to build chord rhythmic chord sequences out of single notes, and the limit dragging helps when you drag off your copies because it restricts the start position. Yeah, whatever. Quite like that one like that actually. And this one could be, I'm just making this up as I go along and I'm not very good at this. So that's actually how I would do that. You know, I'm not very good at like chord theory because I just don't do it regularly. I don't practice. So there you go. I've just made a chord progression out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. Oh, no. Like something like that. Yeah, it's that easy. If you're good at playing in rhythms, you just tap in a rhythmic note pattern and then use the limit dragging to drag off copies to build chords, and then experiment. You know, these chords can be, you know, you can drag off additional notes like here. Yeah, it actually works. It actually does work. Let's try and dragging off another one here. Oh, but holding down Alt. But every time I drag off, it's limiting the dragging. Yeah, so even that works. That doesn't though. Yeah, see what I mean? So you don't have to be great at musical theory to... There's a technique where the limit dragging helps you when you're building chords to keep the same start positions, and you can use that technique for example, as I've just showed you, to build a chord progression out of a tapped in rhythmic single note pattern. Not sure I like that note anymore, but anyway, whatever. You know what I mean? I could try another one in here. Yeah, that kind of works. So, alright, let's drag off, put on the out monitor, right? Did you get the idea? Okay, limit dragging, very, very useful. Alright. So, there's a whole bunch of things, all the rules to do with inputting and manipulating single and groups of notes. So let's move on now and look at everything to do with inputting and manipulating rows of notes.